I know how tempting it is. You finally have a good excuse to buy a computer, and although you want insane performance to be able to play CSGO and Overwatch, you also need it to be portable enough so that you can take it to class and use it to take notes, write essays, and do whatever other schoolwork you might have. The simple answer is to use your entire budget towards a laptop that's going to cover all those checkboxes and call it a day, especially when there's so many companies tempting us with surprisingly attractive laptops in the past few years. Alienware, Asus, Razer, all these companies and more have made incredible leaps in technology to provide so much processing power into such a sleek and sexy profile. And it's working! Alienware laptops don't have to be 3-inch thick desktop replacements anymore. Asus's Republic of Gamers lineup is more powerful than ever before, and Razer is winning the hearts of the masses with an exceptional lineup of blade thin and light laptops that manage to pack Core i7s and GTX 970Ms into less than a dime's height. So that means you should go out and buy one, right? No. No, not at all. Look, in order for you to understand the premise of this video, I'm going to need you to come back to this question over and over again. Do I really need that much power on the go? And I know what you're thinking, of course I do. What if I want to play games or edit video on the go? But are you really going to do that though? Like, really? Seriously? Now look, you can ignore the entire premise of this video if you actually need to use things like Adobe Premiere, Adobe After Effects, Cinema 4D, Maya, anything like that, outside of your dorm or house. Because think about it, there's a really good chance that you're going to make your laptop into a Microsoft Office and Gmail machine, and all your intensive work is going to be done at your dorm anyways. Because even when you have a laptop that can handle those types of applications, they're a pain in the ass to use. For example, I'm currently pursuing a broadcast media degree in journalism at the moment, which includes a lot of editing in Adobe Premiere and even some graphical work in Adobe After Effects, but I wouldn't dare do any of that on my MacBook Pro right here. And it's not because it's not capable of it, it's more than capable of it. In fact, I bought it for that when I got it in the first place. But it's not comfortable. And this is why I prefer doing intensive work in my room on my desktop as opposed to my laptop. Because if I do it on my laptop, then I end up touching the part of the computer that gets hot. You have to pack a mouse because the trackpads don't have the fluency and accuracy of a mouse. You have to pack a charger and immobilize yourself anyways because your intensive app will drain your battery faster than you can finish your project, and so much more. So hopefully now you're seeing why the powerful laptop isn't making sense. But what should you do instead? The answer? Split your budget. For this example, I'm going to give myself a budget of $1,000. A quick look at Newegg shows that if we max out our budget on the laptop at $999.99, we've got two decent choices. One is an Asus ROG G501 with a 6th Gen Core i7 6700HQ, 8GB of RAM, and a 2GB GTX 960M. It's got a TB HDD with a 1080p display. The other is a Lenovo IdeaPad Y700 with almost identical specs, except 4GB of VRAM on the GPU, 16GB of RAM, and a touchscreen. Now, disclaimer, this is only the second YouTube video that I've ever made, and as a college student myself, I don't exactly have the resources or budget available to go out and buy one or both of these gaming laptops and test them to see how they hold up in games. But what we can do is take a look at some of the benchmarks that have been posted online for the components that are available in the laptops and see how they fare with the games that we want to play. The Core i7 processor in both of these laptops hits around 8048 in CPU mark tests, and the GTX 960M hits around 5310 on FutureMark. One of these laptops even sports an SSD, which is awesome at this price point. Wait, it's only 8GB? Really? Yeah, I'm not reading that wrong. That's an 8GB SSD, not 8GB of RAM, an 8GB SSD. See, this is part of the marketing strategy that a lot of laptop manufacturers like to use. They know it's going to be branded as has an SSD or features NVIDIA GTX graphics or everyone's personal favorite Core i7. Let's hit these one by one. 8GB is enough to hold Windows 10 and nothing more. That means sure, your computer's gonna boot fast, but everything else you launch after those 15 seconds has to be loaded off the 1TB hard drive that comes with 2, which is going to be night and day slower. The GTX 960M, although only one letter off, is not the same as the desktop GTX 960. It's not even close. FutureMark says it falls behind a desktop class GTX 750 Ti, which is a $130 card. It's essentially dwarfed by any other card more expensive than that. Finally, the Core i7 6700HQ pulls a similar trick. More than likely, it's reminding you of its desktop counterpart, the 6700K, a full-power desktop processor. but once again, the performance isn't even close. Now stick with me here, because this is going to get a little bit crazy, but I promise it pays off. What if we built a desktop for all of our performance needs, and got a lighter laptop like a Chromebook for our on-the-go work instead? Well, that's a waste of my budget, isn't it? No, not even close. Check this out. What if I told you this could be your desktop computer and still leave you money left over for a laptop? A quad-core Intel Core i5-6500, a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo cooler, a Gigabyte LGA 1151 motherboard, 8GB of DDR4 2133 MHz RAM, a Samsung 850 EVO 120GB SSD, an EVGA GTX 970 4GB SSC with an ACX 2.0 cooler, and a fully modular 80 Plus Platinum 650 watt power supply. And all of that framed inside this beautiful case from NZXT. This is a near no compromise setup, with the only drawbacks being the lower amount of SSD space and the lower amount of RAM, but those are the two easiest things to upgrade in a computer, so you're free to do those down the line. And what did all of that cost us? $830 and change, which leaves us just around $170 to drop on a brand new Chromebook. And here it is, a 2016 Acer Chromebook 11 for exactly $170 and change. Now I chose this laptop very carefully, and it's not just because it wraps up our budget perfectly at $1,000, because trust me, there's a lot of other Chromebooks out there that I straight up will not recommend. First off, this one is only 11 inches and 2.4 pounds, the perfect size to take around campus in your backpack and leave plenty of room for textbooks. That 11 inches packs a surprisingly pretty IPS LED panel with a resolution of 1366 by 768. It's got the I/O you're going to need for presentations like an HDMI port, 2 USB ports, an SD card reader, and even the latest 802.11 AC Wi-Fi for competitive college internet. It's got an exceptional voice and video solution for Hangouts or Skype calls in a pinch. And finally, it's got a battery that Acer says can last you up to 9 hours on a single charge. Alright, so I know I'm missing out on the biggest specs of any laptop out there, and I know a lot of you are calling me out on my bullshit right about now, but let me explain. It also sports a low-power dual-core Intel Celeron CPU, 2GB of RAM, and only 16GB of flash memory. Here's why it still makes sense. All that we're doing on this laptop is schoolwork. That's about it. Remember, we're not playing games or doing intensive work because we just built a kick-ass desktop PC at home for that. This laptop runs Chrome OS, an operating system that was almost exclusively designed for the type of work we want to do on the go as college students. And the reason I chose an Intel-based Chromebook is that we can even dual boot Ubuntu down the line for some Linux-based applications in the future. Don't worry, I'm not turning this into a Chromebook review video anytime soon, but I do want to go over a few reasons why it makes sense to go with a Chromebook rather than a Windows laptop at this price point. Laptop manufacturers have to pay a significant sum of money to load Windows onto their laptops, and even when they do, it still heavily bogs down budget-oriented systems. It's why we cringe when our relatives go to big box stores like Best Buy or Fry's and buy pre-built Dells, or even worse, a sub-$500 Windows laptop from Walmart or Target. They're cheaply built, designed, and marketed products aimed at having a low price tag to attract self-admitted, non-techie buyers into buying a PC that's big, clunky, and slow. But Chrome OS shakes that up a bit, and it fits our needs perfectly. It's a lightweight operating system aimed heavily at internet-based tasks, and costs the manufacturer much less to load onto the system. Most Chromebooks' designs are heavily overseen by Google executives for quality control. That ensures the device boots fast and stays fast with the absence of any preloaded bloat. This allows the OEM to invest money in the laptop elsewhere, like putting higher-end specs in at the same price or keeping low specs for a lower price. What I'm saying is that if you compare a Windows laptop and a Chromebook with the same exact specs, the Chromebook is going to annihilate the Windows laptop in everyday tasks 9 out of 10 times, and that's why we're able to get away with this processor and only 2GB of RAM. If you're still worried about the 16GB of storage, don't be. It's flash storage, which means it's much faster than a standard hard drive, and we shouldn't need that much space for our schoolwork anyways. If we do for whatever reason though, there's an extremely good chance that your university or community college uses Google Apps. If your school email looks like Gmail, then you almost certainly have this. In 2014, Google announced that anyone using a Google Apps for Education account would receive unlimited Google Drive space. Not 100GB, not a terabyte, unlimited drive space. Chrome OS then combines your Google Drive account seamlessly with your local storage. So when you push the search button and start looking for a file, it goes through your local storage, your personal Google Drive, and your school's Google Drive all at once, which saves an immense amount of exploring through different folders and services. Alright, look. Nobody even likes schoolwork anyway, so I'm gonna stop talking about it. The point is the Chromebook is perfect for us. It does everything we need it to, and it lets us put the entire rest of the budget towards that kick-ass gaming PC. Our desktop is going to fly through any and all creative work that you throw at it, max out games at 1080p at 60 FPS, and even run most games at 1440p 60 FPS as well. Here's some benchmarks from GamersNexus.net to back all this up. In Star Wars Battlefront, our specific GTX 970 pulled 68 FPS with maxed out settings at 1440p and 100 FPS maxed out at 1080p. In Doom 2016, you're looking at 66 FPS maxed out at 1440p and 101 FPS maxed out at 1080p. Finally, in Overwatch, you're going to see around 67 FPS maxed out at 1440p and just under 100 FPS at 1080p. You starting to see the trend here? Our rig is going to give us a glorious 60 FPS no matter what current game we throw at it. Now, you remember that gaming laptop we picked out earlier, right? You know what that would have gotten us? About half the performance of our desktop. Notebookcheck.net reported that a GTX 960M pulls around 39 FPS on the same epic settings at 1080p in Overwatch. Doom 2016 on Ultra at 1080p, 33 FPS. Star Wars Battlefront on Ultra at 1080p, 34 FPS. And any of those games at 1440p? Forget about it. And I think that's just about the best argument that I can make right now. Yeah, I might be leaving out alternatives like the Razer Blade Stealth and the Razer Core, which you have to buy separately, but even if you did have a budget of $2,000 to cover all of that, our Chromebook and desktop duo would still demolish it in both terms of battery life and performance. Now, I do expect this video to be at least a little bit controversial and a tiny bit confusing, so if you have any questions on how this works in my personal life or how you can apply it to your own college education, please leave a comment below and I'll be sure to answer it because I still get notifications on my phone for each and every one. I'll either answer it in the comments down there or I might make a part 2 video later on down the road. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. You know what to do with the dislike and like buttons. You know what to do if you want to subscribe and get updated for more videos. It just means a lot to me that you guys are actually watching. You really don't know how special that is. If you know a friend or a family member that could use this video because they might be about to make the wrong decision, please feel free to pass it along. I hope to see you guys again soon. Take care.